Hi friends. Today I'm going to do a video on some mixed media basics. Basically, how to use some of the equipment, mediums, things like that you would use for mixed media. I had sent some items to a friend so that they could just basically get started in mixed media, so I just wanted to make this video to kind of explain how to use some of the items. So first of all, this here is a glass mat by Tim Holtz. Now this is the reason I use this is because you can get paint, ink on it, anything like that, glues, and you can either wipe it off, clean it off, or scrape it off because it's a glass mat. And you can mix colors on here. You can, it's just a good thing to use. So if you make a mess, you can just clean it up. Now there's another option. Of course, there probably are several options, but the ones that I use, this is what I use at home. But then when I take classes or I go somewhere else, this is called a craft mat, a craft sheet. This one is by Ranger, but you can just buy them, all over the place. And there's different brands, store brands, like scrapbook.com has their own. You can get them off Amazon. But this is kind of basically works the same way. It's just a mat. As you can tell, it's well used. I need to clean it. But same thing. You can, just so you don't make a mess, ruin your tables or anything. So in the same thing, you can use it to mix colors, paints, whatever you need to do with it, and then you can just wipe it off. And it keeps your area clean, and it's just I really suggest people get one of these at least if you don't have a glass mat or any kind of mat. All right, so that part's explained. I wanted to talk about the Big Shot. Let me grab that real quick. I just kind of want to give you an overview. A Big Shot, they come in different colors. There's different brands as well. And this machine that I have is made by Sizzix. Some people have pink ones, black ones. This is an older one. I know they have newer ones that are smaller and some are bigger. There's electric ones. This one has the manual handle. I've had this for a very long time. I use this for cutting dies, embossing. You can wet emboss. You can, and what I mean by wet, you can use inks. Of course, there's other kinds of wet embossing where it's totally different. And then you can use embossing folders. So basically, when you get one of these, you can find them used on Etsy and what's that other one? Going blank. But anyway, you can get them online. You can get new ones. You can get used ones. So basically, you get 2 plates. You can tell this is well loved. Generally, the rule is that you get 2 plates, and then you use one for the bottom because it gets really messed up, and then you can switch them out. You can replace these. You can get them off Amazon or any other place, any of the other websites that sells craft supplies to get you some new ones. I think this is actually a second set. I think my first ones got warped. I got rid of them. And then it comes with this. This is your platform. And the platform will tell you how to sandwich the sandwich, like these plates. They sell like little foam plates and things like that as well. And it kind of tells you, excuse me, do that, how to how to place them, how to sandwich them. So for instance, excuse me, I'm going to cut some dies, so when you're going to cut dies, you use number 2. So if I'm going to use an embossing folder, it'll tell you how to do it, and then you use 1. So you would do it like this. And then there's another option there. So the ones that I normally use most of the time are just to, cut a die, or to use embossing folders. So let me show you how to do that real quick. Okay, so let me grab a die so we can cut something. Hold on. Okay, lost my die there for a minute. Okay, so let's look at this. This is just a set I got at a garage sale, but, so let's cut a couple of pieces here. Now, normally we use these to cut out images like this, but you can also use this to cut out stencils. So you can buy some really heavy cardstock, or you can, they sell, I know like Michaels sells the stencil sheets that you can use, and you can cut your own stencils. So that's just something different you can do. But let me just show you how to do this. So if you look, there's a smooth side, and there's like a side that like you can feel like the blades kind of. It's not real sharp. It's not gonna really cut you or anything, but so you can feel it. See, I don't know if you can. It's a smooth, and then you see the little edges where it cuts. So you're gonna want that little edge to be on the paper, so it'll cut it. So let me get a piece of paper. Okay, so here's a piece of light cardstock. It's not really heavy cardstock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the platform, and I'm just going to sandwich it. See, it's telling me to place it between these two plastic acrylic platforms. Okay? So basically, some people tell you to face the sharp side, which is going to be touching the paper, up like that. Some people do it like that. I've always done it this way. I don't know what's the correct way. This is just the way that I've always done it. And again, I'm going to put the one that's really scratched up on the bottom, because when I cut, it's going to scratch up this part. So that's what I do. I'll just place a few items with a cut, with the blade, when we want to call it, the sharp side down, and I'm going to place it like that, and then I'm going to put the other one on top, and then I'm going to put it on the platform. Now if you're worried about it moving, you can use like a light tack type tape, like washi tape, or art stores sometimes sell the green tape or a blue tape that's just very not so tacky, because you don't want to use tape that's really sticky or tacky, because it's going to tear your paper when you take it off. So if you want to make sure that it's not going to move, you can tape it down like these. I'm not really worried about that, because I'm just randomly cutting something. But sometimes you can stamp. There's sets you can buy where it's the stamp and it's the die, and you stamp the item, the image, and then you put the die on top. Well, you don't want that to move, so that's when I generally will tape it down. Okay, and then you can also buy magnetic plates. They sell these, and they're like a magnetic plate, so that they don't move. So that's another option. There's just a lot of different options, but this is just a basic. So what you're going to do is you're going to put it in here on number 2, like it tells you on the image, and then you're going to use the handle. I like to hold it, and it'll make a popping noise sometimes. You may hear it. Don't be scared. It's cutting. Well, I didn't make it. Huh, that's interesting. Sometimes it'll do that. Sometimes it won't. And then I tend to run it a couple of times. Some people run it more than that. I just want to make sure it cuts all the way through. And hold on to this, because it'll pop if you're not careful. So sometimes you hear like a cracking noise. Don't worry about it. That's natural. It's going to do that. It's going to make that little cracking noise, and it's going to make that little popping noise. So the first time I used it, I thought it was breaking it. Sorry, I'm moving the camera. It's moving the whole table. Okay, so let's see. So I ran it through. And let's see what we got. See, so there you see. See, it cut it out. Oops, lost one of them. But see, it cut them out. See, they're little dies. And what's really cool is you can use, this is just basic light cardstock, but you can use pattern paper. They sell so many pattern papers. You can make your own paper. You can just get some really good paper, watercolor paper, or mixed media paper, or any kind of paper that you want, and then you can just paint it yourself. Or, you know, like I said, you can buy some with already images, and you just cut them out. Now, things like this that have a lot of detail can make a mess. But this one, oh, that one came out pretty clean. But see how you got little pieces in there? You can use like a tool. You can use your finger. You can use a pencil that's sharpened. I use this tool. I mean, it's just a tool that I have from, you can buy. Again, you know, it doesn't have to be, like, I think these are Cricut. They're from Walmart. But yeah, they sell them at Walmart, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Amazon. But it can, and it doesn't have to be this brand. It can be any pick tool. Just be careful because it's sharp. You don't want to hurt yourself. But yeah, so there you go. You got yourself some die cuts. So I'm going to put these aside. So that's how that works. And then I'm going to clean this off. All right. So that is how you cut dies out. And again, like I said, you can use this to make stencils. Like I could use this as a stencil. Let's say I wanted to have a different color in the back to kind of make it pop, like, I don't know, a pink or something, or yellow. So I could actually use this and put it on, hold on whatever I'm, you know, gonna color or use, and I can just color that in, and then I can put that over the image, and it'll have like a different color in the background. Just a thought. So don't think it's just for this. You can make your own stencils if you want. All right. Let me put these away so I don't lose them. Gotta be real careful with those dies, especially the little ones. You can lose them really easily. Okay. Another thing that I tend, oh, there's some loose thing, that I tend to use the Big Shot for is to emboss with embossing folders. Let me get an embossing folder that we can emboss with. All right, so let's see what we've got here. So here's a couple of embossing folders we can just use to kind of play with. So you just want to make sure the paper's cut to the right size. I mean, it doesn't actually have to be cut. I mean, you could just, but I tend to cut it to where I know the size I want. A lot of times you can cut it just to where it'll be the size of it. Let's say you're making a card, and so you needed a certain size so it can fit on the card. You know, just whatever dimensions you want to use. So this you use to create this pattern, and you'll see how it's kind of got grooves on one side and it sticks out on the other side. So then you get your paper and you put it in between, and then you're going to run it through. So, but first, let's take a look at what this tells you to do. Okay, so in order to emboss, you will use this one, number one. So which you're not going to fold this over and it's going to stay sticking out like that. Okay. So just know that. So, so it tells you how to sandwich it. So I'm going to use this method right here. So I'm going to put that in. Ooh, I should do it the other way. I'm going to do it this way. So it's telling me just to use one plate. Let's try it. So it sometimes depends on the embossing folder, how thick it is. Sometimes you use one, sometimes you use both plates. It just depends how thick it is. Okay, so normally I use one. For some reason it doesn't want to go in properly. Okay, so I'm going to put that down. I'm going to take the plate. I'll put it on top. Okay, so you sandwich it between the plate and the platform, and then we're just going to run it through. Oh, you know what? That's not going to work. It's not. Let me try both. Maybe I need to do it. So, see how I went through and it didn't do nothing. That means that I need to use both. Hopefully it won't be too tight. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. I know it feels kind of off. See? Oh, there you go. So, yeah, I had to use both. And you'll see how it's kind of sticking out on this part, and on this part it's actually indenting in. So, and you can use either side. Depends what you want to use it for. Another thing you can do with this is there's two ways to add color. Some people like to add color before, so they'll get the color and they'll, like this is a Distress Oxide. So I just kind of spread it. Oh, maybe I should spread it here, like that. And then I'm going to put the paper in, and I'm going to run it through. Let me put that right. Did I? Hold on. Gotta make sure they're together properly. There we go. Sorry about that cough. Okay. It's my allergies. Let's try this. Oh, I should have moved that. Okay. I have limited space here. I apologize for that. So I'm gonna run it back. Oops. Oh, be careful with that popping. It's easier when you have it the other way, and then you can run it back and forth. But see, so it added color to it. Isn't that cool? You just want to do something different. Just endless possibilities. And then if you do add some color, I would go ahead and clean it immediately. You don't want it staining, or you forget, you put it on there. Okay, so that is how I use the Big Shot. Of course, you know, there's other options. The things you can do with it. You just have to look at the platform, because it tells you what to do. Plus, there's several videos on YouTube that gives you a lot more detail, a lot more things you can do with it. But that's what I use. I use it mostly for embossing folders, and I use it for cutting dies. Yeah. No, I'll show you something else I'll do with it later let me just put it together. I always kind of slide it so it's all holding together, so it's just easier to put away. Okay. All right, let's put these away and go on to the next thing. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about was the stamping platform, or stamping in general, how to stamp. So these are different kinds of stamps. Okay, so this is a Tim Holtz. This is a little one. I have the bigger one too. This is just the one that's more like portable that you're supposed to use for traveling. But I like it because it's small, and I don't tend to stamp large items. So this is a Tim Holtz stamping platform. You can't buy these anymore. These are the magnets. The reason I put tape on them is because if they get stuck together, it's really hard to get them apart. So we tend to put some washi tape around it, just so it doesn't stick together. And you can buy replacement ones as well. But yes, so this is a stamping platform. They have these, and they also have another one that's really, and like I said, you can't find these unless you go on eBay, because they don't sell them anymore, and get a used one, or into some new ones. Another one that's really popular is the Misty. This is really good. It's kind of pricey, and I like it, and I use it. I've just been using this one for so long. They also sell some different brands that are less expensive, and a lot of people say they work really well. so I don't know. But these are the ones I like. I like these two. Another option for stamping is blocks. You can, this is the traditional, first way we would stamp was with the blocks. There's different sizes depending on the size of your stamp. I like these. These are just, again, these are from Michaels. You can buy them off Amazon, and they're not that expensive. Depends what size that stamps you're using. Also, All in Create came out with some that I really like. They're actually a little acrylic, thin acrylic ones. I just feel like I have better control. Let me find it. Okay. This is a little one that I carry with me, but see how thin it is, and I like it because I feel like I have better control over what I'm stamping. If I'm just, especially with mixed media, the reason I like mixed media is that you don't have to be so precise. As if you know, instead, if you're making a card and you want it really precise, I would use this. If you're just using something you just, stamping with just for add something to it, it doesn't have to be perfect. I would use this stamp. I would use this, or I would use those thicker ones. But generally, to be honest, most of the time, if I'm stamping just something to add, just an image, it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't even use anything. I just stamp, the stamp with my hand. It just depends on, how you want it, what you're doing with it. Now, the stamping platform, this one, has two sides. So you see there's a little break here, so you can pull this out. And you'll see that there are two sides. One says clear and one says rubber. So what you have is, you'll have a clear, you have these clear stamps. And what it is they're thinner than the rubber stamps. This is a rubber stamp. This one's from Art by Marlene. I love Art by Marlene. This is a red rubber stamp, and you can see that it's thicker. So that's the reason you have two sides, because you'll see that when you stamp, this is wider, see, and this is thinner. So let's say I am stamping a clear stamp. Well, I want the thin side down, and it'll say right there clear, okay? And that just means when the clear is right here on the top where you can see it, that means that you're supposed to stamp with clear stamps. If you want to stamp, if you want to stamp with red rubber, then it'll say rubber. So let's say I want to stamp, I'm going to stamp this cute little kitty cat with pretty little glasses. So let's say I'm going to stamp this. So I have it on rubber, and then I'm going to, let me get a piece of paper. So this will have guides for you here, and you can use the, the little magnets to hold it down, so you have to worry about it moving. If you want to, you don't have to use them. It's up to you. Oops, let them stick together. Okay, so then what you do is you figure out where you want it. So let's just say I want the kitty right there. Okay, so this is the part that's going to stamp down on the paper. So you want that on the paper. And this part's going to be the part that sticks to this. So you just kind of figure out where you want it, stamp it down. Okay, add some color. I'm actually going to use some Memento. This is, so in case I want to use watercolor or something, it's not going to bleed. You don't want to use a water-based stamp. Or you don't want to use a stamp ink that's going to bleed if you watercolor it. So let's just say I want to watercolor it. And so then, once you do that, you stamp it. You hold it. You can kind of rub on it, kind of hold it down. It's not really the pressure as much that'll cause it to stamp properly. You have to let it sit there for a minute. Let that ink absorb into the paper. Let me see if I have I don't know where it's at. Sometimes you can buy these little discs that you put on there, and you can kind of run it around like that, and it'll put pressure. But I don't know where mine's at right now. So let's see. And then you lift it. See, if, let's just say I didn't do it properly. And I think it needs more ink or something, okay? So let's say I think it needs to be darker. So the good thing about a platform is that as long as you don't move the paper or the stamp, you can keep stamping over and over again until you get it the way you want. And that's the advantage of a stamping platform, is that you don't have to worry you know, that's going to move, or if you try to re-stamp it, that it won't come out right because, you know, it moved, either the paper moved or the stamp or the placement of the moved. See? I'm such a cutie. Okay. Anyway, I love kitty cats. So then just make sure you, I always have some fragrance-free wipes. You can buy special wipes, but you know, these will work. It's just habit that you want to take care of your equipment and your items. Okay, so that, excuse me, was stamping an image with the red rubber. So now let's stamp a clear. So I'm going to turn this around. And let's try a clear one. Okay, so make sure it says clear right there. And so then I'm going to figure out where I want it. So let's just say I want it here. I don't want the paper to move, so I'm going to put the magnets down. Let's say I want it, say I want it here. Okay, so I place it where I want it. Push it down. It will stick. This time I'm going to use an oxide. Oh, you know what? No, I'm going to use Distress ink. It's pretty purple. So let's do that. And then sometimes when it's a new clear stamp, you have to kind of rub it a little bit and just kind of hold it there. Let the ink get on there. Let's figure this out. I don't know. I'm going to hold it down for a minute. Let's see. Let's rub it a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to do a little bit more. I wonder if this is drying up. Let's do it again. Wish I had my thingy. I don't know what I did with it. That's what happens when you're not organized. Okay. There you go. See? It's darker now. So, see. And like I said, with these right here are generally ones that I don't put on any kind of platform or acrylic. And you can use this too. Like, let's say I wanted to, you know, put ink and then stamp. I could do that. But generally with these kind for mixed media, I tend to just use my hand. You can just use different techniques and you just kind of figure out what you like. I really recommend you playing, I call it that, playing, but playing with the mediums, playing with the stamps or whatever you're using, and just kind of figure out what you like. Figure out how it acts, how it reacts to other things, how it layers. Almost only through experimentation that you're going to learn how to use the product, but also not just use the product, but use the product how you want to use that item. Because every artist uses their tools in a different way. So I just know that. Okay, so those are some different ways. It's a stamp. Like I said, you can use the platform. You can use, oops, make sure you put it in there correctly so it closes. So yeah, so that is stamping. Let me look at my notes, make sure I covered everything that I wanted to talk about with the stamps. Let's see. Oh, I guess I need to talk a little bit about the inks. Okay, so this has created like a lot of confusion in the beginning for me because I just didn't understand the inks very well. And maybe I should talk more about it later. But there's distress ink that I intend to use, and then this distress oxides, okay? And then you're dealing with like Memento, which is a dye ink. And then you also have, which is really popular, is the archival ink. I use this a lot. So it's permanent, it's waterproof, so I can stamp an image and then I can use watercolor or watercolor pencils or markers or whatever I'm using, and it won't bleed together. Now, if you are using alcohol markers, then you have to make sure that you're not using an alcohol-based ink to stamp the image, because once you do that, it'll muddy the color, they'll mix together. So you gotta, use something that's not gonna interact. Like the Distress Oxide almost acts like a watercolor. And also what's really cool about the oxide is, which I'll show you later, is you can use it to color in or add color to something, and then you can splatter water on it and it'll change it. So that's really cool. And the oxides are more opaque, which means it can cover something, it'll just cut it. You may still be able to see through it, but it acts like it just is opaque, versus an ink, which is more see-through, translucent. So anyway, we'll talk more about that later. But anyways, okay, so let's go on to the next item that I wanted to explain, which are stencils. So far we've talked about the Big Shot, how to use that, and then also we've talked about how to stamp. There's different ways to stamp images. So a stencil, let's get some stencils out, which we talked about earlier, that you could actually cut a stencil, make your own with the dye machine. But okay, so there's different kinds of stencils. So many companies make them. These are just, some that are used that I bought at a garage sale, but and you can use these different ways. Paper. Okay, so basically, you know what a stencil is. I mean, we've used them before in school. But with mixed media, there's different things you can do with it. One is to, add color, patterns, to a back. Like you want to make your background or something. Let me see. So let's say I want to just add color. I want to add a background. I want to make a background here. So let's see. I'm going to use orange. So basically, you get something to apply the color with. Like here, I'm using this. They have these bigger ones. You can use a brush. You can just use this and slide it over, but just whatever you want to do. Now, if you're going to be using these little dauber things, one thing I learned, which I took a class and they taught me this because I was struggling with applying color, and they told me I was pushing down too hard. So what you want to do is do lightly, just kind of go over it. And if you need more color, you just go back over it until you get the consistency that you're looking for. So basically, a stencil you can use to add color design. See, let's see. Like I said, you can use different kinds of inks. You can use paint, watercolor. Watercolor? I gotta be careful that it doesn't bleed. But yeah, you can use acrylic, anything to add color. You can use you can also use them to add texture with like texture paste. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, so you can just use it just whatever it is. I mean, you can use it to add a word, a phrase, if you want to add a sentiment like happy birthday, whatever it is. So see, pretty cool, huh? I love stencils. And then again, take care of your, I'm just have, it's a habit for me that I clean immediately. Some people don't. As you can tell, I bought these used, and whoever had them before didn't clean them. I think people, especially with acrylic, if you're using acrylic paints like they probably did here, they don't normally, because a lot of people just let them dry on there because it's not going to bleed once you use it again. Another thing you can do is use sprays. Let me see. I've got a spray here. Yeah, here's a spray. So this is a spray stain. So usually you want to have like a box with sides before you spray because it can like spray everywhere. So I don't have one, so we're just going to take our chances here. So let's just say I want to add like that, and there you go. I added it. I didn't realize it was going to make that much of a mess. Another thing you can do, which I think is so cool, I learned this recently. Let me show you. Is that you can spray the stencil itself. Let me go over and do a real trash can. And then you spray it, and then you put it on there, and it's just something different that you can create. It's kind of like an opposite almost. Isn't that cool? I never thought of doing that until I saw somebody else do that. And I thought, well, that's cool. So you can do things like that. And then you just kind of let that dry. If you have a heat gun or a low-powered hair dryer, I use a heat gun, but then you can let it dry by itself, take its time. You can walk away, go do something else, or you can dry it immediately with a heat gun. Now there's different kinds of heat guns. This is a Ranger one, which is okay. I've had it for a while, but it's not really good for using it to emboss. Oh, my hands are yellow. But it's good for drying. So let me dry this. Now, when you use a heat gun, like some of them have 2 different levels of heat. This one doesn't. But if you do, I would start at the lowest and then go to the highest. Don't like leave it in one place because you can burn your paper. I have done that. So just kind of put it on, and then kind of just like slowly move it around. Don't put it too close. Don't let it sit like one area for too long because it will burn your paper. So just, yeah. So it dried pretty fast, actually. Okay, so that is a heat gun. Again, you can use a blow dryer. Just use it on low heat. You don't want to burn your paper. But yeah, that's pretty cool, huh? Different things you can do with the stencil. That's what a stencil. No, another thing you can do is to add texture, like I said. Let's see. So I'm just going to use the same one. All right, so let's get some texture paste. There's different kinds of texture paste. This is just a regular matte one, but they sell, like right now, especially with the holidays coming around, you can buy some that have glitter in them that are shiny. I bought some, usually around Halloween, you can buy the ones that are black. So like, it's really cool if you're adding some words or anything to it, just to use the black one. Also, you can color this. So let's say I wanted this orange, which I don't. Let's just say I wanted orange. So what you do is you can mix it. Like you just put some ink down, and you can be on a plate or wherever you want to. You can mix in any kind you want with it. Then I'm going to get a palette. So let's just say and then you just mix it. You can create your own colors as well. You don't have to just use white. You can also just use the white and then color it later. So yeah, so see, create your own. So this is texture paste. So you want, this is to add texture to your, whatever you're doing, your project. So let's say I want to add this on, and you don't have to do the whole thing. Some people just kind of do a little bit. So just kind of slide it over. And you have to be very careful when you're doing this, because if you do it lightly, because if you do it too hard or you go back and forth, it'll go under the stencil and it will mess up the image that you're trying to put on there with it. And so just kind of lightly like that, lift. See how it added? It's kind of hard to see because it's already orange. Do it over here. So let's see. So you've just added texture to it. See? And let's say I want to do white. I'll do it on the side. There's another palette knife. Let's just say I want to do a bit here. Again, just, you know, gently do it. Don't go back and forth. And any excess you can put back. I'm not going to put that back, of course, because it's orange. And then make sure you wipe these, because it's hard to get it off of your palettes. I mean, your palette knives. Just left. See how it creates texture. It's wet still, so I don't want to touch it because it'll move. Once it dries, then you can do whatever you want with it. But you have to let it dry first. Let me clean this. Again, you know, taking care of your supplies and it'll last longer. It's just habit. I learned this from classes that I've taken when I observed other crafters. Oops, be careful with that. And what they did. Okay, so let me dry this real quick. I'll probably put it on silent while I do this. Alright. Oh yeah, it's dry. Yeah. And if you use white, you can also add color to it. So let's say I get this and I just lightly go over it. See how it'll lightly add color to it. You can do that as well. Something fun, something different. But yeah, so that was fun. Okay, let me clean this mess I made. It's already drying, so it's real important to get it off. Again, this is one reason I like this mat, this glass mat, because it, you know, you could scrub, you can just wipe it off or scrape it off. And I have to wash my hair. Got ink all over me now. Okay, let's see what's the next item on our agenda. I made a little agenda. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention that you can do is reverse. It's kind of like, I call it reverse. I probably call it lifting. You can lift. So let's say I have this color here, and it's not that I don't want to add, like I did, you know, the color, I added texture, but I want to actually lift some color. Let's just give it a subtle design. Lightly, you can go over it with the stencil, and you'll see where you can lift some of the color up. So that kind of is like a reverse. You can barely see it, but you can kind of see where it kind of lifted some color. But yeah, so there's something else you can do with the stencil. Right, the next item, we've talked about stencils, stamping, the Big Shot. Okay, so colors. Let's talk about color, adding color. So we have, of course, we talked a little bit about the stamping inks that, you know, we have a distress ink. And like I said, this is more translucent. So let's just say I had something... Let's say I had something underneath. I don't know. Let's just say I had some kind of design on the bottom. And I wanted it to be a little translucent, which means I wanted it to not be so opaque. It's probably not a good color because it's dark, but we'll go with it. So if you lightly go over it, see how you can still see underneath it? You know, you can see the design below it, even though I'm adding color to it. See that? So if I were to use an opaque, like an oxide, which is going to be thicker in a sense, and then you'll see that it, well, it's still translucent, but not as translucent. It's thicker. I don't know if you can tell. Anyway, that's just something. And then again, I talked a little bit about the Memento archival inks, which are permanent and waterproof. One thing about even the distress inks and the oxides is you can almost use it like watercolor. So let's say I wanted to use it like watercolor. I could just put the color down, get a water brush, and put some water on it. See, so it's almost like a watercolor. That's why I like the oxides. And they used to only sell these Tim Holtz in these big sizes. Now they've started selling them in the little ones. So in case you just didn't want to buy the big ones, you can just buy the little ones. And it's also good for traveling. But see, you can kind of like use it like watercolor, you know. So just another, that's something you can do with this. But just because you don't, and you can also use it for splatters. A lot of people like to use it to splatter on their designs. Not working very well, is it? Let me get another brush. Probably need some water. But anyway. You can use it to splatter. See how it splatters? Some people like, see them? To do splatters. So that's something else you can do with them. So just know that. Let's see. So we talked a little bit about the different stamping pads. Let's see. And again, if you want more information, YouTube has tons of videos on how to use the inks and not to use the inks. These are sprays. I like this. This is a stain actually, but there's different kinds of sprays. Here's the Dina Wakley one, the gloss one. There's, you know, there's all kinds. Here's another one. How many white ones do I have? This is white, that was clear. Here's an oxide spray, and this one is a really pretty purple one. I like that purple. You can spray with those to add color. Let's just say I wanted just to add, you know, just have color in the background. You know, do that. Again, I would have a box I could spray in because it will go everywhere. And let's see, so we've talked about sprays, there's inks, there's, you know, you can watercolor, you know, it just whatever, you know, acrylics. I love acrylic paints, you know. I like the Dina Wakley ones because they're little, but you can buy the bigger ones. Like this one I got on clearance at Hobby Lobby. It was like, how much was this? $1.49. And I just like the color. I like some brights to add something, you know, to whatever I'm making. So just know there's all kinds of mediums. You can get the ones at Walmart for like $1.50 or $1 something. All these different colors of acrylics you can use. Also, let me see. I'm looking at my list of what I wanted to talk about. I kind of wanted to mention, like, there are so many mediums. I mean, there's like the Caran d'Ache pens, other, you know, crayons. There's the, I mean, just so many things out there they can use. But mostly I use is acrylic, the stamping, you know, spray, and the sprays, the stamping inks. That's usually what I go for. And then you're going to be dealing also with things like, let me see. Let me get another piece of paper. With pencils. So, let me just get a few. Alright, so the most common pencils that you will find are going to be the wax-based ones. So Prismacolor is one of the major brands, been around for a long time. And so these are wax-based. And this is the ones y'all are probably most familiar with. So, you know, you can, you know, it's just made, it has wax base. You can color with it. You know, you can mix the colors too if you really wanted to and create a different color, you know, things like that. So it's just wax based. Once it, you know, it doesn't move. You know? Once you put it down, it's down. So it doesn't move. So this is the Prismacolor Premier. They sell them in all kinds, you know, the set of 12. You can buy them individually. You can buy a set. But these are wax-based pencils. They don't move once you put them down. Okay? All right. Then you have, let me get some water. Okay. So then you have the watercolor. This is Prismacolor watercolor pencils, which is one of the really good ones. But there's so many. You know, there's just so many brands out there, store brands. Just use whatever brand you like. But the watercolor pencils are versatile because you can use them like watercolor or you can use them like a pencil. So let's say I just wanted to use it as a pencil. I like watercolor pencils just because I feel like sometimes their color is some more intense, you know. But then the good thing about watercolor pencils is you can move it. So like a watercolor, see? So now I've created like a watercolor. And sometimes you can put it on like somewhere and then move it, you know. But yeah, you add water to it and it reacts like a watercolor would. And one thing about watercolor is that even after it dries, you can re-wet it and move it, you know. And you can't do that with the wax-based ones. So just know that. See, with these, it doesn't move, but these do. So just know that's the difference. And so it depends on how you want to use it. Then I like the Inktense. Now this acts like a watercolor, but once it dries, it's permanent. So because it's an ink. And I love Inktense, by the way. So let me just let me show you. So let's just say I color something with the Inktense. Generally, I like Inktense to go around something. Like, I want something to pop. So let's say I have a die. I put a die down. or in something, and it's just kind of sitting there flat. Well, you know, you glue this down, and then you can add something like an Inktense type pencil. And what you can do then is you can then move it. So see how it moves like watercolor? But just know, like I said, that once you do that, once it dries, you can't move it, okay? So that's Inktense. I love using Inktense in mixed media because the fact you can move it. But like I said, once it dries, it will not move. Okay, so those are the pencils that I normally use. What you saw earlier that I didn't plan on showing, but I will, is the Inktense blocks. And these works like the Inktense pencils. They're just blocks. It's just easier to, you know, maneuver if you want to do something, you know, more intense. No, too much water. But yeah, let me clean this. Okay. So that's what that is. It's a blocks. It's just the same thing, but it's just in block form instead of pencil. Look at this back. Oh no. I put things back so I don't misplace them. Okay, so another thing that I like to use in mixed media are Posca pens. And these are actually acrylic pens. A lot of you are probably familiar with them. There's different brands. I like Posca, but the other ones are fine too. So basically it's acrylic paint in a pen form. What you have to do is you have to prep it a little bit, and you just kind of, so the nib, you'll see the nib will go in, but don't do it too hard. You just kind of want to lightly until the ink starts flowing. And then you can do whatever you want with it, you know. You can draw, you can write, and you can actually use this on anything. You can glass, wood, and then once it's dry, it's permanent. And the good thing about, the reason a lot of people like to use Posca pens in mixed media is because you are, in mixed media, just like it says, you're using different mediums. So you'd be using acrylic paints, watercolor, sprays, stamps, anything like that. And this will write over it. It won't mix in, it won't make a big mess. It'll actually go over it and dry. So if you want something to stand out, then that's when you use this. I would suggest always having white and black. It just depends on the nib you want. Oh, that one's, yeah. There's thin ones, there's the thicker ones, just whatever you like. But yeah, those are always good to have black and white, and then you can add any other colors to add splash to them or something. Okay, so I talked about the Posca pens. I've talked to you about the different kind of pencils. Okay, let's talk a little bit about adhesives. Now that's another thing that you'll learn just by, you know, using it. I like to use Collage Medium. So this is one of my favorites, this one. Some other people, and like Dina Wakely has the media glue. She also has to me it's similar to the Collage Medium, but I could be wrong. But the first one that I learned to use is this one. Now this I use to adhere items to my cards or my mixed media or whatever I'm doing that are usually thin, like tissue paper, thin paper, even kind of lightweight paper. I'll add it to like the bottom, and then I'll adhere the image, and then I'll go over it. You can use this to seal, you know, just because it dries clear. This one's matte. They have shiny and matte. I like matte. I like both, but my preference is always matte, usually. And so I'll use it when I'm, you know, just to kind of put over to make sure everything just stuck on like it should be. But there also is different kinds of glues. Like this is a more like you can use this from light to like medium papers or items that you're putting on to glue it down. If you have anything that's thick, metal, wood, whatever, you know, just something thicker that you know that these are not going to hold it down. Then I would use like a zip dry. This is one of my favorite ones. And also you can use a glue stick, you know, hot glue gun. And this is another one that's a really good one. Is the this is a good adhesive also for adding light items. But if you ever have anything heavy or thick, or I would use like a zip dry. I would use something like heavy duty glue, because stuff will come off. But if it's something, like I said, like tissue paper or light paper, or you can easily use the collage medium or a lighter glue. Let's see, what else was I going to talk about? Oh, I wanted to talk about double-sided tape. That's another option. And just like what it says it is, it's double-sided tape. So basically, you will get, like, let's say I want to tack down, I don't know, an image onto my surface. So there's different kinds of double-sided tape. Now, there's this kind that you can like just add to whatever you're doing. So let's say I want to put this down. Oh, got wet. Okay, so let's say I'm gonna adhere this. So it's sticky on one side, you know, on the bottom. You adhere it to whatever you're gonna glue down, and then you just take the paper off and glue the image down. See? Another thing you can use is tape runners. This one's kind of messed up, I guess. Oh no, it's, I don't know what happened to that one. So let's say you have a tape runner. So that's what they call a tape runner. There's different sizes. This is a little one. You can just get it. I think I got this at Hobby Lobby. So let's say I wanted to adhere something. So it's sticky. So you just run it. When you run it, it's applying glue. See, you'll see it's kind of like a sticky. And then adhere the object. Okay. Another thing you can use is foam dots. I love foam dots. So these, I mean, you can buy them like this. This is like a roll. But a lot of times they'll come on little sheets of paper. And so they have squares, they have circles, they have all kinds of sizes. Let me see if I can find and show it to you what they look like. But you'll go to, like I said, Hobby Lobby, Michaels, online, whatever, and craft stores. And they'll have sheets. So here's some sheets of, and they're foam. And the reason you want that is if you want to add dimension. So if, let's say I wanted to add dimension to, let's just say I'm making a card, and I wanted to add dimension, like let's say I wanted this to be higher up, you know, or in a mixed media, if I have an image and I want something to pop out and be higher than the other ones, then all you would do is, these are again double-sided, sticky. So when you remove it, it's sticky, and then you would put it, let's just say, I don't even know what that is. But anyway, let's say you would put it on there. Okay, and then these are different sizes. You can buy them, or they sell them in multiple sizes. Excuse me. And then you just kind of peel off the other side, and then you adhere it. See? And it adds some dimension. A lot of times you'll see them on cards where they'll have the sentiment sticking out, or they have some things in the background, like this has got the little ones in the background, like you want to make it look like this is like far away, and then you put like the dots, and then you adhere it, like, you know, like that, with some dimension, and it makes it pop out like it's closer to you, and those are like in the background, like further away. It's just different things you can do. So that's just the different kinds of adhesives that I use, and there's probably several other kinds out there that I'm not familiar with. This is just what I use currently, and I suggest for starting out. Alrighty, let's see what else I have written down that I wanted to talk to you about. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it that I wanted to talk to you about, for just introducing you, you know, just to the different types of things you can use, equipment, different mediums, and just, you know, just to get you started with your mixed media. And again, I recommend that you just take some time and just swatch colors and play with things and just kind of get familiar on how to use them. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to stop the video now, but I'm going to come back and make something, and just kind of show you how to use them to actually create something. I know I just kind of give you an examples of how I tend to use some of these items, but I want you to see me actually make something. So I'll probably just add that. If this video is too long, I may make it a separate video. If it's not, I may just add it to the end. I don't know. I'll just see how long this video is so far. So either, like I said, I'll add it to the end of this one or make a separate one making something with the things that I talked about today. Again, friends, I just want to say thank you for joining me today. I hope you find this interesting, informative. But, you know, also, you know, please, if you can share how you do some things differently, or how you use some of these items differently or in other ways, please put in the comment section below anything that would help somebody else, because this is just some of the things that I do, and I was just showing you how I use some of these items, but I'm pretty sure there's hundreds of other ways to use these. And again, thanks, and I'll see you next time. Bye.